Packers fall to the Vikings 27-25 in a game where it was never particularly close, even though it kind of got a little bit close at the end. Vikings let the Packers come back. They were up 27-10, and Packers scored 15 points to make this game kind of close, but I kind of thought this game was over at halftime. Packers, they just showed up too late again. Their offense decided to click very late in the game, and this kind of seems to be a trend with the Packers, that when their offense doesn't start out hot, they lose. And this will be what kills them in the playoffs if they keep doing this. Their defense played good throughout the first couple of drives. They were holding the Vikings, but eventually Sam Darnold started picking them apart. He finished with 377 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception, and I heard that 377 yards is his career high. He also became the highest Vikings first-year passing touchdown. So not even Brett Favre did that. So I forget how many touchdowns he has on the year. I want to say like 36 or 37. But apparently that's the highest that a Vikings quarterback has ever had in their first year. So not a great stat to have against you. Jordan Love finished 19 for 30, 185 yards and a touchdown. He didn't have a great game. He kind of started getting going towards the end, but he was missing some throws. He missed Jaden Reed on a throw. He overthrew it a little bit. And then Josh Jacobs finished the day with 69 yards and a touchdown. They kind of contained Josh Jacobs, and that's another thing I'm worried about, where if the Packers, they're so reliant on Josh Jacobs, and sometimes it kind of worries me that, like, if Josh Jacobs gets shut down, that we can't really do much, which sounds weird because we have so many offensive weapons, but the Packers, I think, need to be a little bit more diverse in their passing and running games. I think they've become a little bit too dependent on Josh Jacobs, and I know that sounds very, very crazy to say, but I think they need to do a little bit more play action, because I'm worried that if Josh Jacobs gets stuffed in some of these playoff games, it's just not going to end well. So yeah, again, Packers started slow, and this seems to be what defines the game going forward. This happened first game against Minnesota. They were down 28-0 at halftime, and they came back, but again, it was too late. This happened against Detroit a few weeks ago, where they didn't really do much in the first half, and then they made it close in the second half. But against the Saints, against the Dolphins, against the 49ers, against the Seahawks, they come out, they look hot, and now granted, those are not the caliber of teams like the Vikings and Lions, but still, like, you can see the difference in the momentum of this team when they start out and they get a touchdown on their opening drive, or they get a touchdown on their first couple opening drives, and the defense gets a couple stops, they get out to that early lead. They seem to play a lot better, but when they start out slow, they seem to lose, and I'm worried that that's going to be what costs them in the playoffs, because if right now the Packers are the 7th seed with the Commanders winning last night, and they would have to go to Philly in the first round, and if you put up 3 points against Philly in the first half, you're not going to win. So Packers running game continues to look pretty good. They held Aaron Jones to 47 yards, so passing game though was just not good, and I think we need Evan Williams and Jair back in the playoffs, or again, I'm very worried about this Packers team going deep into the playoffs. Sam Darnold just kind of started dicing them up. Sorry, I meant to say passing defense and rushing defense. Now, I am not going to complain and bitch about the officiating, even though there were some bad calls, because the Packers had some calls that went their way that were very, very light on. I think there's a pass interference call, and then there was a neutral zone infraction. So, again, I'm not going to say that the refs cost this Packers the game, because at the end of the day, they went for it on 4th down when they could have kicked a field goal, and they left points on the board. That opening drive, Josh Jacobs, they were moving pretty well. I think if they had scored a touchdown or a field goal, this could have went a little bit differently, but Josh Jacobs fumbled, and it just kind of spiraled from there, and they only scored 3 points the entire first half. So, again, they didn't lose this game because of the refs. They lost this game, again, because they keep shooting themselves in the foot. So, yeah, Packers fall to 11-5. Vikings are now 14-2, and the Lions play tonight. They play the 49ers. I'm assuming they're going to win, so they will be tied with the Vikings again, and next Sunday night will be for the division and for the number 1 seed, and that's very, very exciting to see. I'm also a Vikings fan. I'm from the Twin Cities, so I do like the Vikings as well, and I'm really hoping that they clinch that number 1 seed, because I think it would be hilarious to see Detroit go to the number 5 seed and have to go on the road in the playoffs, and they would maybe have to go to Tampa Bay, who's already beaten them this year. So, yeah, this is kind of shaping up to be a fun week. The Packers play the Bears at noon, and I think the Packers are going to be 12-5. I don't see a scenario or any possibility that the Bears win. That sounds crazy, because it's football and anything can happen. Of course, the Bears could win, but I think that game will be a get-right game for the Packers, and probably a pretty big statement win by the Packers. I think they want to get back on the right track before they go on the road. So, overall, yeah, I think Packers fans, we should be disappointed in the performance they put out last night, but we should also be optimistic that when this team clicks, they can beat anybody, and I truly believe that. I know that we are 0-5 against the Vikings, Lions, and Eagles, but they've been closer games for the most part. That first Lions game wasn't really that close, but the Vikings games, if they played all 4 quarters, they could beat them. And the Lions, that game came down to the wire. So Eagles was in week 1. I think the Eagles are a better team. I'm actually more worried about the Eagles than I am about the Vikings and Lions in the playoffs, so we will see what happens. But as of right now, the Packers are the 7th seed and will most likely have to go on the road throughout all of the playoff games.